Yo, what's up guys? Yeah, PokeaimMD here with another battle from the World Cup of Pokemon qualifying round. We're still covering Team Bangladesh versus India. Now, we have a Sim12 on Bangladesh as well as DJ Breloominati on India. I love his name, by the way. So, I'll be giving some of my insight on DPP OU as we're going through it, talking about the turns, the thought process, and also I'm going to give my opinion on the teams as well at the end because I really love DPP OU and after watching this game, I do have some opinions on the teams. No disrespect to either of them. This is just, again, I'm going to give my opinion on it. And if you feel offended, I mean, that's on you. Anyway, so we see a Metagross versus Jirachi lead. Now, Metagross is pretty straightforward on what it wants to do as a lead. Akaberry, Focus Sash, Lumberry all come to mind. Stealth Rock, Meteor Mash are pretty much on every single set. And then you'll have some mix-up between Earthquake and Bullet Punch, Explosion, Earthquake, maybe a rare type of set with Trick Iron Ball as a lead could be pretty cool if you want to deal with like a Zapdos and make it grounded if you have like a Flygon in the back. So those are all potential options. Now, Breloominati has the his name, man. Breloominati has a Jirachi. Now, Jirachi can do whatever the hell it wants as a lead, honestly. It could be Wish Support just because you don't know what you want to lead off with, so you lead off with a Body Slam one. It could be Stealth Rock. It could be Choice Scarf. It could be Akaberry with HP Ground, Stealth Rock, Psychic Grass Knot, like an anti-lead type of set. So there are a whole bunch of different things that it could do. Now, if Jirachi is Choice Scarf, it will more than likely go for U-Turn or Stealth Rock if it's Choice Scarf with Stealth Rock. If Jirachi is the Akaberry set, typically, when I lead Jirachi versus Metagross, I like to go for Hidden Power Ground first, just to do about 46% or so, to get off a little bit of chip on Metagross. That way, it's in KO range of something like a Breloom Superpower in the back, or a Flygon's Choice Scarf Earthquake, or a Hydro Pump from Starmie, things like that. Whereas Metagross, I like to attack as well Jirachi that's in front of me, or get up rocks depending on how well my team deals with Jirachi. So it really just depends on the team compositions right here. But we are going to see a U-turn from Jirachi. Now, again, that could mean that this Jirachi is either Choice Scarf or a Body Slam variant with just a U-turn as a lead, with maybe Fire Punch or something. Obviously, you don't want to stay in if that's the case, because you're going to be taking more damage from Earthquake than you're dishing out with Fire Punch. Plus, you don't know if he's Akaberry or not. And we do see the Skarmory come out on the expected Earthquake. Very nice play. This does give potentially the trade of hazards right here. Skarmory has no reason not to go for Spikes unless he fears the Magnezone in the back. And Metagross can either switch out into something that could deal with Skarmory. Maybe we'll see a Rotom form. Maybe we'll see Heatran or a Fire type like Infernape in the back as well, or just choose to get up rocks if that's what he deems necessary. So we are actually going to see an exchange of hazards right here. We actually see that the Skarmory is faster than Metagross too, so we know that this Metagross is running 0 speed, or the Skarmory is just running a good amount of speed on it. But because typically that's like a tie right there. If I'm not mistaken, they're both 176. Now, this is not good for the Metagross side, so we'll more than likely see a switch out from Asim, as we do see a reveal the Infernape, as DJ Breloominati makes a really good play. He acknowledges the fact that Metagross doesn't really have any business staying in versus Skarmory unless it wants to go for Explosion. Explosion will do a decent chunk, especially if it's Spadef Skarm. It'll do a lot, actually, because Explosion's 500 base power in this generation. But we do see the Whirlwind for the Scout. That was beautiful. I think it was one of his best plays he can make right there. I probably am, like, overhyping that turn, but it was a really, really solid play because don't get greedy so early. 1 layer of Spike is typically better than 2 layers of Spike, and I say that because the 2 layers don't actually do that much. They don't add that much up in damage, but when you get 3 layers of Spike, it's beautiful, right? But 1 layer and a Scout, I'll take that any day for 2, and letting an Infernape in for free, especially in DPP, especially when it looks like when we see Jirachi Skarm. I'm not even sure what type of team this is. It could be a bulkier variations of squads, and Jirachi, like the Choice Scarf trick user for Pokemon like Calm Mind Suicune and Calm Mind Jirachi and things like that. So we are going to see Metagross come out, as Infernape is going to come out one more time, as we are going to see the 2nd layer of Spike come out. So a Starmie should be coming out here. That's like 100% coming out right now, as we do see Flare Blitz. Now, that Flare Blitz does 46% to Starmie, so that is guaranteed Choice Band Infernape. Scarf Infernape would not have done that much to Starmie, unless it is, of course, an offensive Starmie. But even then, I don't think, based on the fact that he has Skarmory and what I'm expecting to be Scarf Jirachi again, we're expecting this to be like a fatter type of team. So this is more than likely just max HP Starmie right here. It comes in on the Infernape. Now, because his opponent had already viewed Jirachi plus Skarmory, and this is hindsight, honestly, but this is just my opinion on that. I think that what Asim should have done was gone for U-turn, but I understand the Choice Band Flare Blitz play as well, especially because it's Stealth Rock are up, you're a Choice Band Infernape, even Pokemon like Dragonite and Flygon don't appreciate it. You'll 2-hit KO Flygon, you'll do a ton of Dragonite. I don't remember the exact role, but I think if it's not offensive, or if it is offensive, I think it's almost a 2-hit KO after Stealth Rock with Choice Band Flare Blitz. But U-turn obviously would have been the better play in hindsight, but if he feels comfortable enough for potentially letting a Starmie come in, that's like the #1 switch into Infernape in this generation. Like if he has a T-Tar in the back or a Grass type to take advantage. Well, Grass types don't really take too much advantage of Starmie. I understand the Infernape play, so we should definitely see Asim switching out right here, and Starmie more than likely going for Recover. Now, this is really interesting too because he automatically puts the Starmie in a position where the Explosion threatens it. A defensive Starmie's Hydro Pump is never knocking out Metagross from that range. So, and on Breloominati's side, he does have a Starmie at 100%, which means he can always come in on Ape. U-turn from Bandit Ape will do about 70%. 2 Starmies, again, that's really good, but he took the aggressive play and went Metagross right there. Another thing we might have seen was maybe it was Custap Berry Metagross, so if he wanted to go for Hydro Pump, which was never the play, I think Recover was always the play, that was confirmed Bandit. We could have seen, if it did go for Hydro Pump, it would have put Metagross in Custap Berry range, provided it connects. So we're going to see Explosion come out right here as he goes Skarmory, and that's a good trade either way. Damage on Skarm, especially if you have any other breakers, any Dragon types in the back, a Tyranitar in the back, you want to see them get out. And we do see Infernape come out. So again, really interesting situation right here, because if the Infernape goes for U-turn, since he's already seen his initial switch in to Skarm, it automatically puts Skarm in a position where he can lose its Tyranitar, right? So, or Starmie, I think I said Skarm. I hate those 2 words. But yeah, so Infernape can either go for Close Combat right here, which I think is better than going for Flare Blitz. I think Close Combat, even if he does go out to Starmie, is the best play. It provides him with no recoil, and it will also knock out Skarmory. As we do see Skarmory go down, and I completely respect that play. If Infernape went for U-turn and he lost Starmie to potentially a T-Tar in the back or something like that, or the fact that Starmie can no longer come in, it makes it, it makes Infernape even a 28% Infernape, right? Even a 28% Infernape would still be a problem with Choice Band hits, especially versus a fatter team that I'm leaning towards that this team is, just based on what we've seen, right? So I understand that play a lot. Close Combat, though, will allow in potentially Starmie right here or some sort of fighting immunity / resist. Now, again, I'm assuming that was Breloominati's thought process, okay? If I go out into Starmie right here and he goes for the U-turn, my Starmie's gone, and then that makes Infernape a problem no matter what. So I understand that play. Of course, if Asim has a ground type, it's going to make it really hard, especially if he has a Flygon right now, losing Skarmory. And if he had like a Choice Band Flygon, if this was like Scarf Ape, I would expect a Choice Band Flygon. I don't think I'd expect Choice Band Flygon plus Choice Band Ape, though. If he does have a Flygon, it'd more than likely be Choice Scarf, because he wants some sort of speed control and DPP. But we're going to reveal the Rotom Wash. Now, in this generation, of course, this is a Ghost type form. So this is really, really interesting right here, because on this type of team, especially when we see Skarmory, Rotom Wash, Starmie, I would expect this to be a defensive Rotom, right? Will-O-Wisp being set, maybe even a Rest Talk. I think Rest Talk is a little bit outdated, in my opinion, on Rotom, but Jirachi is a really interesting play, because the only Jirachi that really beats Rotom 1v1 is a Calm Mind variant, but he goes out into Jirachi right there as Rotom goes for the sub. Now, my only thought process could be, or what I'm thinking Asim's thought process was, this was Scarfrachi. He wanted to bring it in as a pivot on potentially Rotom's Hydro Pump, which makes sense. Like, Rotom could potentially go for Hydro Pump. Though Thunderbolt would obviously knock out Tyranitar. And he wanted to, Infernape. And he wanted to pivot into the Tyranitar that we do know that he has in the back. I actually know that he has a T-Tar in the back. A little bit surprised it hasn't come out at all, especially, like, directly on this thing. There was no way, the Rotom would... go for a Will-O-Wisp versus T-Tar, or versus Infernape. Tyranitar can either be Lumberry or Pasture Berry most of these days. That's what they typically are. If it's Lumberry, okay, it makes sense. You don't want to bring it directly on Rotom, because maybe if it's an offensive Rotom, Specs Rotom could like 2-hit KO you with Hydro Pump, but I wouldn't really expect a Specs Rotom in this type of team. So we do see a sub variant, and I think this is a Scarfrachi, Scarf or Extra Belt, because he goes for the Ice Punch. Does not break the sub, as we are going to see a Thunderbolt, opting to not go for Will-O-Wisp right there. He does have it on the Rotom. We do find out later he does have it, but I really don't. I really don't completely understand the Jirachi play, besides him trying to bring in on the Thunderbolt, maybe seeing no item on Rotom, so expecting it to be Scarf or something like that, and then you turning out into an appropriate answer. So I get that part, but the fact that he has to stand right here and lose Jirachi to Ice Punch that's not breaking the sub in one hit, at the end of the day, Rotom ends up with a sub. If we see sub plus Thunderbolt, it's more than likely Pain Split Rotom as well. And that just means that he's going to lose his potential Scarfer. Again, we're leading towards this being Scarf Rachi. And makes it even harder for the Starmie in the back because Infernape doesn't deal with it and it goes down. So we are going to see the trade of Jirachi versus Rotom at 50%. I don't think that this was the right series of actions that Asim made right here. But I understand the initial switch into Jirachi. I just think that he should have tried and switched out on it. But then again, you only see sub Thunderbolt, right? You don't know if this thing has Shadow Ball. You don't know if it has Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, anything like that. I think sub split Thunderbolt Will-O-Wisp is very likely. But of course, this also comes down to how much he plays DPP. And again, that's also hindsight, right? Rotom can run whatever the hell it wants. So Jirachi's going to go down. Rotom comes out to 50%. And we are going to see that Celebi come out. So Celebi is really interesting here because Celebi... First off, he's using Celebi, and that's a Pokemon that you don't see very much use of, especially with what's common and running around, right? You got T-Tar, Spec Zapdos, Brelum, it makes sense, but Brelum, Sleep is just broken in every generation, right? You just Spore it and it's gone. So, like, with what's really common right now, you don't really see too many Celebis running around. But we do see Celebi come out. Grass Knot, this is keep in mind, guys, this is Ghost and Electric. So Grass Knot does not break the sub. First off, Rotom is light as hell. I think it's like 20 base power versus that. Hidden Power from Celebi won't be able to break it. So unless it's offensive Celebi with Psychic, he won't be able to break the sub. He has based on his team, by the way, like just looking at what he has 3 Pokemon weak to ground. So now he has a ground resist. So he definitely has a ground immunity in the back. I'm not sure what type of it is because again, his team is a little bit awkward, I want to say, but it's still cool nonetheless. I like Trick Jirachi if this is Scarf, and I like the fact that Celebi does help you check Suicune, but we find out right here that this is actually a bold Celebi. As you can see, DJ Breloominati, what he ended up doing was subbing right there, expecting it to be a faster Celebi, because at least in that case, that Celebi has offensive pressure versus what's common right now. It can Earth Power, Heat Rans, you know, +2 Leaf Storm Knockout, Tyranitar, Grass Knot, whatever, do a lot. Check Brelum a lot better, but it's a Hidden Power Fire and it's a bold Celebi. So something you don't see very much at all these days. And I mean, it could be Hidden Power Fire, Hidden Power Ice, we don't know. But this just means that Rotom does reveal the Pain Split, and it actually can. It can't necessarily stall the Celebi 1v1, but it's able to severely weaken it right now. So we're going to just keep seeing some subs right now. Celebi can recover, and we're going to see some Thunderbolts. I guess he doesn't want to reveal his last move. It's definitely not Shadow Ball. He would be going for it otherwise. But the thought process here is weaken the Celebi a little bit. I mean, losing his initial Steel type in Scarm, you don't want to risk switching out versus this thing, especially because if it is Bold Celebi, because the only way it's slower than this is running like Bold. And Recover, again, we're expecting Recover. We know Recover, we know Hidden Power, Ice or Fire, and then it's Grass Knot usually, and then Thunder Wave. So it's Tinkerbell, but it's not the Life Orb Tinkerbell, so it's just Bold Celebi. So you don't want to really want to risk switching out into Jirachi on a Thunder Wave, especially because, assuming it is Bold Celebi, which we are assuming because it's slower than Rotom, you don't risk that sort of thing, right? You don't risk it. U-Turn won't knock it out anyway from full. So we're just going to see some stalling right here as we finally reveal the T-Tar. Now, I honestly believe that this T-Tar should have came out earlier. Maybe on Starmie's obvious Recover, because that would have let Infernape pressure his team a lot. As you can see, Starmie is his Fire type switching, right? Everything else does not appreciate Flare Blitz. Banded Flare Blitz would knock out Scarm at the range was that after Explosion. Jirachi goes down. Rotom would not appreciate it either, especially if it's just max HP. It takes so much from it, making something like your own Scarf Jirachi do a lot of damage anyway. But we do see T-Star come out as Rotom does go for sub. This automatically puts Rotom in an advantageous situation right here too, because assuming his last move is Will-O-Wisp, which we're pretty confident it was, it's either Will-O-Wisp or Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump doesn't make too much sense. It's more than likely Will-O-Wisp. This Tyranitar is getting burnt. So Rotom is faster, goes for the Will-O-Wisp. We do reveal the Lumberry on the T-Tar, so that makes sense as to why he was a little bit hesitant on switching in on Starmie. But at 84%, Tyranitar is always living on Hydro Pump from Starmie, especially because you know that's max HP Starmie based on the Flare Blitz damage. So I think he still should have brought it in and traded if he had Pursuit. If he had Pursuit, he didn't have to have Pursuit. Actually, no, if it's Lumberry Tyranitar, it could be two things. It could be Dragon Dance, or it could just be Fire Blast, Lure with Crunch, Stone Edge Pursuit, Sleeper Power, anything like that. So maybe he didn't have Pursuit and he didn't want to play that 50-50. But I would have definitely went out to Tyranitar earlier on Starmie on the 100% recover, I think, on Infernape, and tried to trap it. But we are going to see the Will-O-Wisp burn burn that Lumberry, and the Rotom can actually potentially live another Crunch. But what he's opting to do right here is actually, I thought he was trying to Pain Split right now, but yeah, he just ended up getting a little bit lower on HP. So I think he subbed right there, expecting him, or scouting for the switch. I guess it was his best play in hindsight yet too. It was his best play because if you switch out to Celebi, you get a free recover with Pain Split off pretty much, and it avoids, Infernape coming in, though Infernape would never come in at that point. Though Blaze, it's in Blaze, it would be in Blaze at that point. So not even Starmie would appreciate that hit. But we are going to see a burnt Tyranitar, as Jirachi is more than likely going to come out now. Yep. At that point, Jirachi can freely click Iron Head, potentially knocking out the Tyranitar with a flinch. I think the Tyranitar opted to stay in here to go for Fire Blast. That's my only thought process right there. You can't really bring in Infernape on the Iron Head because it will die after Spikes plus Sand. And Celebi, if you go for U-turn, it takes 10 million. It takes like 60% if it's bold. So maybe closer to 40, 60, around that range. So I guess he wanted to get Fire Blast damage off, maybe to try and Mach Punch it later with Ape or anything. But Tyranitar is going to go down, and Jirachi being in is amazing because this really threatens whatever he has. But we do see the late game Gyarados. Now, I talked about how I would give my opinion on the teams at the end. I just want to say and again, nothing against Asim, but I'm not a fan of Gyarados on a team with no spinner as your only ground immunity. And what I mean by that is Flygon is really prevalent in the tier, and you have Metagross weak to it, you have Infernape weak to it, which is a Bandit, not Scarf, Jirachi, which is more than likely your Scarfer, so your speed control, Tyranitar, which is weak to it, and then Celebi, which doesn't appreciate U-turn. So if DJ Breloominati got up Stealth Rock, and he had a Flygon or something like that, again, he doesn't end up having a Flygon, as you guys will see, but I just wasn't a fan of the Gyarados. I think it's perfect right here because it actually gives an opportunity to potentially sweep, but I wasn't a fan of it in general. So we are going to see the opponent end up going right out into the Blissey right now, and I guess his thought process was he doesn't want to go hard Starmie, just in case his Dragon Dance bounce, since that could actually knock out Starmie right there, and Blissey can actually take a +1 and a +2 Waterfall, and Seismic Toss down the Gyarados, or Seismic Toss down the Gyarados to the point, potentially, if it's Scarf Jirachi with Thunder Punch, knock it out, or go Starmie after. But we do see sub from Gyarados, which was a smart play. And this does allow him the Dragon Dance. So like I said, +2 Gyarados, if it's Jolly, it does not knock out Blissey. Blissey is just fat, man. So we are going to see the Seismic Toss come out. We're going to see another Dragon Dance right here on the next Seismic Toss. And again, the Blissey's thought process is, okay, if this is bulky Gyarados, I need a little bit of damage on it, just like one Seismic Toss. Honestly, the substitute damage was enough for a non-offensive Starmie's Thunderbolt to knock it out. But we're going to see a pretty cool play right here. And this potentially could have been game-changing right now, but we're going to see Asim predict him to want to go for the Thunder Wave right here, or a status move of any kind, knowing that +2 Waterfall does not knock out Blissey, and we're going to see a sub. So this is really, 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 really solid. Breloominati's thought process was, of course, okay, like I said, +2 Waterfall doesn't knock him out. Let me Thunder Wave him, slow him down, and let me just beat him with my Jirachi or my Starmie after. But we see the sub right there, and this really puts Asim in a really potentially game-winning situation, because not only are you behind a sub, but Waterfall has a chance to flinch. So if you flinch the Blissey, you still end up behind a sub, and it's a roll on Starmie to knock it out with Earthquake. And if it's Jolly, the roll is severely in Breloominati's favor, but if it's Adamant, the roll is in Asim's favor. Though I think it's Jolly with sub, because you want to be able to outspeed Pokemon like a Flygon and whatnot at +2. But because that's a really, really common Scarfer. So we're going to see the Waterfall come out. Does he get the flinch? He does not get the flinch, and Seismic Toss is able to break the sub, and that definitely, I think, saved Breloominati right there, because had he got that flinch, I think the game would have just been over at that point. Jirachi goes down to +2 when I'm expecting to be Earthquake. +2 Waterfall, it also doesn't appreciate, but it can potentially live it. Starmie goes down to Bounce. So right here, if this Gyarados is actually sub-Bounce, I think he can win. If it's sub-Earthquake, it's a roll, like I said. And if it's Adamant, the roll is severely in Asim's favor. If it's Jolly, the roll is in Starmie's favor. Turns out that he ends up being either I'm pretty sure this is a Jolly set because he did 83%. So the Gyarados barely misses out on the KO. That could have been game-changing right there. But Starmie's going to go down. Now Starmie's going to go down to the sand. This means that Jirachi can come in, and Jirachi was such a great play, especially because it's Scarf, and it would guarantee be able to knock out Infernape with Iron Head, or at least be able to U-turn and just deal with it from there. But Thunder Punch would definitely knock out Infernape too. So we go Celebi right here, which is smart on the double down. That potentially deals with whatever he brings in last, because you can Thunder Wave it. I'm not gonna lie, like I could not predict these teams at all. Like typically in DPP you see some really common stuff, but you'll see what his last is right now. So I see him not wanting to take a U-turn after spikes and whatnot, though it wouldn't be able to knock him out. Switches out to Infernape on that, as he U-turns out into a Crobat. Like, I would not have been able to predict this team at all. I was talking with a few DP players as well, and they were like, yeah, I would have lost. I would have sacked something that I didn't need. So that was pretty cool that we see like this type of team, like a fat team. And yeah, Crobat is just going to be able to win because of its fast. I actually think I have this team. Just because of the nicknames. But Crobat goes for Brave Bird. Celebi could not come in, and because its hidden power wasn't Psychic Celebi, which was revealed earlier, all Crobat has to do is go for Taunt to guarantee the game, because that means that Celebi can't Thunder Wave, it can't recover. As you can see, Celebi did try to go for Thunder Wave from there, and it just means that Brave Bird is going to be able to pick him off with Sand, and turns out he was HP Fire, not HP Ice, so he wouldn't have been able to beat Jirachi anyway, and that's going to be a 2-0 in DJ Breloominati's favor. So really interesting choices on teams, I think. I wasn't a big fan of seeing Gyarados as your ground immunity with no spinner. And this, like, I would not have been able to predict like a late game Crobat like type of composition like this at all. But Asim ended up just going down to the combination of Spikes plus Rotom. Had he had like a Breloom or something over Celebi, granted this dude had Crobat, like a Breloom counter, but even then Spore would have been annoying plus superpower, especially if Skarmory was as low as it did as the game went out. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on the game. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Of course, if you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.